Before I start my thesis review, let me introduce myself first. I am Vinluan, a BSHM at NBSU Bambang Campus. Thesis review by Vinluan. Research to be reviewed. A market segmentation assessment on the food and services of Amelia Cafe and Restaurant by Karina L. Campana, G. Lo B. Liano, Minerio C. Peralta. This study made use of the descriptive correlational method. According to Martinez, descriptive research explains that the descriptive approach is used mainly to describe contemporary events and that the research questions and problems are based on appropriation of the present state affairs, although they are rooted in the past and may affect future. This study was conducted to assess the market segmentation of the restaurant services and gourmet or food of Amelia's Cafe and Restaurant, Bambang Nueva Vizcaya. It also sought to answer the following problems. Number 1. What is the respondent's profile in terms of age, sex, civil status, highest educational attainment, occupation, location, where customer came from, eating occasion variation, price variation, and convenience. Number 2. How do the respondents assess the restaurant services and or food of the Amelia's Cafe and Restaurant in terms of the market segmentation components? Number 3. Is there a significant difference between the segmentation assessment with the respondent's profile? Chapter 1. Introduction. Is the background information on the problem presented? Yes. I believe the researchers made a sincere effort to give their study a strong beginning. I found the study's background to be very well written, and it immediately became evident to me what the study's title signified and what it was meant to stand for to readers and potential future researchers. Does the background information provide a sufficient introduction to the study and establish a need and or a rationale for conducting the study? Reading the introduction immediately caught the reader's attention. It offers a nice, reader-friendly approach and gives me a decent background and overview of what to expect when I read their study. It is brief information but informative. Is there a separate statement of the problem and a statement of the purpose of the study? Yes, there is a different statement for the statement of the problem and the purpose of the study. The purpose of the study was to assess the market segmentation of the restaurant services and gourmet of food of Amelia's Cafe and Restaurant, Bambang Nueva Vizcaya. Whereas the next three are a statement of the problem. 1. What is the respondent's profile in terms of age, sex, civil status, highest educational attainment, occupation, location, where customer came from, eating occasion variation, price variation, and convenience. Number 2. How did the respondents assess the restaurant services or food of Amelia's Cafe and Restaurant in terms of market segmentation components? Number 3. Is there a significant difference between the segmentation assessments with the respondent's profile? Please summarize the purpose of the study in your own words. The study's goal was to evaluate the market segmentation of Amelia's Cafe and Restaurant, Bambang Nueva Vizcaya restaurant services and gourmet or food. Does the purpose stated indicate the variables of interest and the relationship between those variables? Yes, it shows that the relevant factors are given along with the relationship to one another. Does the purpose statement afford the reader a reasonable, clear focus of the study? Yes, because the objectives of the sentence clearly indicates what readers can assume from this research. Does the problem appear researchable? Can it be investigated through data collection and analysis? Considering that other academics have carried out studies similar to this one, it would seem that the problem may be investigated and examined by collecting and analyzing data. Are specific hypotheses or research questions stated? Yes, there are particular research questions or hypotheses expressed. Does each hypothesis or research question regard an expected relationship or the difference among the variables of interest in the study? Yes, each hypothesis or research question considers an expected distinction or connection between the primary elements of the investigation. Do the hypothesis or research questions help define the variables under study? Yes, it can help in defining the study variables. Is each hypothesis testable or research question answerable? Yes, each tested hypothesis and each research topic can be answered. Is the educational significance of the problem discussed? Yes, this study discussed the problem's educational significance. Are appropriate limitations or the limitations articulated? It was defined as a result of the study inclusions of goals, questions to be answered, variables, theoretical goals, and population chose to be the study's participants. Researchers were quite upfront about the limitations and provided an explanation for why they chose a specific course study. Do the limitations assist in providing a framework for interpreting findings and conclusions of the study? Yes, the research constraints and the limitations help by offering a framework for analyzing the study findings and conclusion. Does the researchers include information regarding how the study dissertation will be organized? Yes, the researchers provides details on how to correctly organize the study or dissertation. Chapter 2. Review of related literature. Is the literature review comprehensive? For me, the review literature is okay, but it's inadequate and lacks a bit of information, but the sequence is good. Does the researcher omit any necessary reference citation? The researcher did not remove any required reference citation because they properly cited it. Are all reference cited relative to the problem under study? Due to their structured and exclusive relevance to the study that is described here, all the references given are related to the topic under study. Please select one reference cited in the review of the literature and find the original source from which it was taken. Is the information direct quote accurate? The essence of the approach outlined in WIND 1987 is still evident in recent work by Tobia et al. 2007 that uses sophisticated geometric arguments and algorithm to improve the efficiency of the method. This is a direct quote from the article on the website according to my Google resource. Is the review well organized? Does it flow logically from more general information to information that is more specific to the problem under study? I found the study to be rationally arranged and well organized. Does the literature review conclude with a brief summary? Yes, the literature review concludes a brief summary on the synthesis part. If so, does the summary capture the essence of the review of literature? The key elements of the literature review were highlighted in this section, which helped me understand the author's research and successfully communicates those ideas in the summary. Chapter 3. Methodology, Study Design. What types of study design was used in the study? Example given: historical, experimental, correlational, etc. The study design used in this study is descriptive correlational method research design. What evidence is there that this type of design were used in the study? It is clearly stated in their study that study is descriptive correlational method research. Is the study design appropriate for testing hypotheses or answering research questions posed for the study? Yes, it was appropriate for testing hypotheses or answering research questions posed for the study. Are there any alternative study designs that would appear to have been appropriate for achieving the purpose of the study? There is no any alternative study designs that would appear to have been appropriate for achieving the purpose of the study because simply it is only for descriptive or correlational. Population sample selection. Are the size and major characteristics of the population under study adequately described? Yes, it was adequately described. If a sample was selected, is the method of sample selection clearly described? The method of sample selection clearly described that it was 30 respondents drawn from the selected customer of Amelia's Cafe and Restaurant. Are the size and major characteristics of the sample adequately described? The sample was well explained because they gave an explanation of the response percentage. Does the sample selection technique appear likely to have produced a representative and biased sample? The sample selection method seems to have produced a representative and biased sample because only 30 customers were picked among the 50 regular and walk-in customers. Instrumentation. Is each instrument clearly described in terms of purpose and content? The purpose and content of each instrument are completely described. Is the composition and organization of each instrument articulated? Yes, composition and organization of each instrument articulated. Data collection. Is the methodology for collecting data for the study clearly and comprehensively articulated? Yes, the methodology for collecting data for the study clearly and comprehensively articulated. Do the data collection procedures appear appropriate for the type of information needed to test hypotheses, answer research questions posed for the study? The data collection techniques appear appropriate for obtaining the type of information needed to test hypotheses and offer answers to the study's research objectives. Data analysis. Are procedures for analyzing data described clearly and comprehensively? Yes, it was described clearly and comprehensively. Are data analysis procedures related back to the hypothesis or research question posed for the study? The data analysis procedures were indeed related to the study hypothesis and research question. Do the specific types of statistical procedure appear appropriate for the purpose of the study and the type of data being collected? The specific statistical methods employed appear appropriate for the objectives of the inquiry and the types of data being obtained. The frequency counts, the percentage, weighted mean, and t-test are the research statistical treatment data. Does the researcher provide a rationale for the specific statistical procedures that were used to analyze data? Yes, frequency counts and percentage were used to describe the profile of the respondents. Weighted mean was used to describe the level of respondents' assessments in the restaurant service and gourmet in terms of market segmentation components. T-test was employed to determine whether significant difference exists between the respondent's profile and market segmentation components. Does the researcher describe the statistical software or program that was used to conduct the data analysis? No, the researchers does not describe the statistical software or program that was used to conduct the data analysis. Chapter 4. Presentation, Analysis, and Interpretation of Data. Are the results clearly presented and easily understandable? The outcomes are presented in a clear and precise way. Was every hypothesis tested or research question answered? Yes, it was answered thoroughly. Were tables or figures well organized and informative? Yes, tables or figures are well organized and informative. Are the data presented in the tables or figures discussed in the accompanying text? The supplemental text discusses the data that is presented in the tables and figures. Are the tests of significance appropriate for the hypothesis, research questions, and the design of the study? Yes, both the study design and the pertinent significance test for the research questions and hypotheses. Are probability levels clearly stated for each test of significance? Yes, each test of significance makes this evident. Is there a summary of the salient results at the end of the chapter? There is no summary for the salient at the end of the chapter. Chapter 5. Summary of findings, conclusions, and recommendations. Does the summary of the study provide a reasonably comprehensive overview of the study without being too long and detailed? Since it only included pertinent material related to the research done, the study summary provides a pretty thorough review of the study without being overly lengthy and detailed. If you read only the summary of the study, would you have enough information upon which to judge the appropriateness of the conclusions and recommendations? I can get enough information when I read the summary, but it is also not enough to judge the appropriateness of the conclusions and recommendations. Does the summary of the study finding provide a reasonably comprehensive overview of the findings of the study without being too long and detailed? The study's finding summary provides a very in-depth analysis of its findings. Do the conclusions follow logically from the findings of the study? Yes, it is logical to draw the inference from the study findings. Are the conclusions broader and more general than the findings or simpler statements of the study findings? It is more extensive and all-encompassing than the findings. Are any obvious conclusion omitted? There is no obvious conclusion omitted. Does the discussion appear appropriate in light of the purpose of the study? Yes, the discussion appears appropriate in light of the purpose of the study. Does the researcher relate findings and conclusions back to research results reported in the review of the literature? Yes, the researcher does a good job of connecting the research results given in the literature review to the findings and conclusions. Are theoretical or practical implications of results discussed? Yes, it was discussed briefly. Are recommendations for practice or applications of study results made? Yes, recommendation for practice or application of the study results made. Are these recommendations appropriate in light of the study results? These recommendations make sense in light of the study's findings. Are recommendation for future research made? Yes, recommendation for future research were made. There are 3 recommendations made, and one of it is the customers dining in the establishment of Amelia's and restaurant be provided quick attention such as taking order and other needs. Are any obvious recommendations for practice or future research omitted? For me, there are no obvious recommendations for practice or future research omitted. Thank you.